All right, welcome back to the Amazing Conspiracy Realist channel. This is your host, Bryan, Amazing Conspiracy Realist himself. It's good to be back. So today we on De-Occulted, we're talking with Marja West again. She was on the show probably 4 or 5 months ago now. We introduced her book, F Wide Open, and so I wanted to dive deeper into that with her a little bit, with regards to like the integration of the masculine and feminine, and what she's come up with as the 4 levels of relationship. And I think when I read this book, like that information was it helped give me a lot of clarity to like situations in my own life, and it's just now I don't feel like I'm as in the dark. And things are a little bit less scary now that I have a map and stuff like that, a roadmap to relationships, I guess you could say. But welcome back to the show, Marja. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Bryan. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, so you've been doing a lot lately. Of course, like cranking out like all your videos on your channel, like almost like one every day. There's always some type of wisdom that you're throwing out there.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in my, I'm in my domain, I'm in my lane. It's all I can do to keep out of trouble. And it just seems like the more focused I am staying in my lane, the less trouble I'm in. And I just don't get involved in the stupid shit shows of the Matrix. It's a waste of time for me. So I just don't push up against that shit anymore.
Right. And I've certainly learned to follow your lead in that. Before I met you, I was definitely like, and even, after we met, I was still working through that and like, pushing up against it and like really getting worked up over what this person's thinking and the form of mind control that they're under and like what is it going to take to shake them out of it, like and what kind of misconceptions do people have about me, and and I still sometimes get caught up in that, but now I catch it. Now I can just like catch it and just wake myself up again and just be like, okay,
isn't that just the best to just do it, because that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Right.
The moment you start getting involved in what you think other people are doing, your attention is hijacked by them. Or it's hijacked by some kind of wounding that is like beckoning for your attention to be healed. And, it's great. It's great that you're getting this whole, process of continually doing the great work and continually catching yourself snoozing, because people think that once you're woke, it's a one-off event. It's not. We are constantly snoozing. There's way too much distraction out in the world, out in our day-to-day that will captivate our attention and get our attention, trigger us, upset us, get us tripping in our heads. And the moment that shit happens, you're sound asleep. You're a walking zombie. I got to do it all the time. And I fucking laugh at myself, because I think, oh no, I'm just completely sound asleep.
Yeah. And it's sometimes I think the biggest trigger for me is when someone says something that's completely out of line, out of context, and they're supposed, so I'll give an example real quick before we really dive into the subject for tonight's episode. I have certain friends who they might say something that really takes me back, like, and I'm just like, and I'm kind of just shocked, like, that they would actually even say that. But I know this guy is not going to watch it. Even if he does, it's not a big deal. But I was hanging out with some friends at like a local club the other night, and I was being sassy and just the way I am and everything.
I love that about you.
I had my makeup on, I had my nails all done up crazy, and my friend turns to me and he goes, and we're sitting at the bar waiting to get a drink, and he's like, Man, sometimes I wish I had a straight wingman, like a straight guy for a wingman and not a bisexual guy. And I
Oh,
was just like,
brother.
what is that supposed to mean? Like, I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, so like, am I scaring people away? It's like, oh man, you take things too personally. You take things too personally. What that just came out of left field. And that was like,
Yeah.
kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, man. Like, so and then it's just like, oh, never mind. You're cool. You're fine. Just be yourself, because once he sees I was upset. At first he was just like, but yeah, I mean, it's those types of comments that people will say about you and your personal choices or whatever it is, something that's just way out of line. And you'll get preoccupied on that. And see, that's where I used to slip up, is like someone would say something like that and I would be on that subject for days and days and like,
dude, I still do this. There's certain subjects in my life where, and one of the things is being shushed or not being able to complete my sentence, or having somebody just either cut me off or dismiss what I have to say. And so it's been practice for me, but the moment it happens, I immediately catch myself. I'm falling back into the past of my own mother just shutting me down, totally shutting me down. So I know what those triggers are. And still to this day, when I catch myself and I'm spiraling down because I'm bummed out, I'm not heard, nobody wants to listen. I mean, there's a whole cascade of these one-liners that come up. And now I just fucking laugh. I'm like going, okay, keep going. Let me know when you're done. And sometimes what I have to do, especially because I know that one, where you sit there and, like, for myself, I'll get butt hurt and I will ruminate over it. And just as you were describing, where you're just kind of like fucking on that thing, I can see the power it has where, years ago, it would floor me. It would ruin like maybe my next week or the next few days, or get me into some spiral where I'm filled with self-doubt, or I'm guilting myself, or I'm shaming myself. It becomes an outlet for some kind of self-abuse.
Right.
Or poor me. So there's the self-abuse, and then there's the sort of inner victim that gets activated every now and again. But now I recognize it. It's like, oh God, here we go. It's a drama. So I start, this is one of the things I do. I'm like, okay, I'm playing the violin badly right now. Okay. But you have to be compassionate with yourself and see it. I utilize these triggers as, touchstones to wake up. It's like, okay, girl, snap out of it. This is not helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, when people say these things that trigger us, it's like a lot of times it's more about them than it's about you. And it's like,
absolutely.
What pisses me off is that, like, I see for their jealousies and their lack and their like need to kind of one up me or to knock me down peg two, just because they like I realize now that it's not, because like they'll try to make it seem like, well, I'm trying to help you and give you the unsolicited advice you so desperately need from me, but it's really just about making sure that they're at like a slightly higher level in their mind than you.
And that's very toxic masculine one-upsmanship. It's that competitive thing, and and women do it to each other. So that toxic masculinity, or the divine masculine, it's not a man or a woman. It is it's energy that's being projected out. Okay. Whereas the feminine principle is the magnetic principle. It's being, it's coming back to you. All right. So it's really drawing in energy. So when people do that one-upsmanship and, I get into a pissing match or some kind of thing like that, it's usually, this whole thing of like really trying to build yourself up, at least energetically, so that you can, a lot of the times it's a default for feeling very much insecure, for feeling ill at ease in the body. Now, you have a very awesome presentation because you're audacious. And that quality, not a lot of people have that quality to be able to, dress the way you want, express yourself, use colors, use costume, use makeup. That's intimidating for a lot of people. And so that could trigger a lot of self-doubt, a lot of envy, a lot of, I used to get, who the hell do you think you are? And I'm just like, yeah, man, I am that bitch. So fuck off, And so I used to get really just offended, and then I would get self-righteous, or I'd be like in people's faces. And then I realized, I don't need to do that. And the more aligned you get, and the more okay and self-accepting you get, you're not going to give a shit. You're not going to care. You're not going to care about defending a position. And you're also not going to care about whether people like you or not. But it's still a shock. And I had an interesting interaction last week. So I got invited to teach yoga via Zoom, just very, very simple yoga to a quote unquote, and the hostess, she coined it. It's a geriatric beginning yoga. All right. So these women are, they're survivors of domestic abuse, and they're of a certain age group. So between 50 and like 85, the oldest person was 85. So here I am. The hostess is like thinking I would be the perfect person since I'm vibrant. I have a lot of energy. I'm also 62. And I was floored because I was kind of looking forward to it. I'm like going, oh yeah, that's going to be cool. And the timing was perfect. It was easy. I had a really easy setup in my dining room. I had the camera already, blah, 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 blah. And so here we are, we get started. And I can see the fucking shit like going off. And it was shocking because you could see these sort of bitchy kind of like, these are unhappy ladies, dare I say. And I have a lot of compassion for my sisters. But when I'm looking at the chat and they're being fucking catty contessas, like, ain't no way this one is, 60, blah, 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 blah. She's had an easy life. I mean, these women are making false assumptions about who I am based on how they think I look. And they are dismissing my offering. They're dismissing the medicine because, rather than seeing me as an inspiration, or perhaps, I say, you spot it, you got it. You see something you like in me. Okay, maybe that is an aspect in you that you need to embody, or you see something you don't like in me. Maybe that shit is embedded in you and you need to take a look at it. So it was really disturbing, and I was butthurt. I didn't even get to finish because they were not having it. Instead, it became this sort of discussion, not about yoga, but the discussion about women against women. And the sort of one-upsmanship that some women have when they get competitive, or they feel thwarted by another woman, or they're envious, or they're jealous, or they're resentful, or they resent themselves. And it was fucking heavy, man. I was exhausted, totally exhausted. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's an incredible story. Thanks for sharing it. Like, see, what I was thinking is just like, how unconscious do these people have to be to not even have a click in their own brains that they're being, making assumptions about someone they don't even know based on how they look, or, it's all based in jealousy, but because they don't think that you're the age that you're at because you actually take care of yourself. Like, it's just like, instead of, they can turn it around and being like, oh, wow, like she's awesome. Like, she's amazing. I wonder, maybe I should ask her like what she's doing, to, stay that fit or whatever it may be. But instead they have to go for the lower vibration, like resentment and like, it's just, they must feel a real like emptiness and lack, within themselves. And, I get that with musicians too, who don't write their own music, who are just like, pulling up a bunch of like ZZ Top tabs and like trying to learn it. And like, it's just like, they don't actually create anything, or like I was saying the other day, the gear heads who just get a bunch of gear and then they try to figure out how to use it for the rest of their life. All the while, I have a regular guitar, regular amp. It's nothing special, nothing too expensive. I plug it in and it's all about creation after that,
It's plug and play. You just, you plug it in and you go do it. Yeah.
Right. And so people get jealous and butthurt because they say, well, I spent all this money and time and he's up on stage and he's getting recognition for what he's doing. And he doesn't spend as much money on his equipment, or, he doesn't have as good of taste in music as me.
Oh my God.
The list goes on.
You think they would want to learn from that? And that's the whole thing too, is that when you're talking about relationships, the first and foremost relationship is going to be with yourself. It's going to be with yourself in terms of your internal masculine and your internal feminine. Now, as a woman, I have more touchstones about feminine energy because I'm in a female body. All right. It doesn't mean, however, that I don't know what it's like to run masculine energy, because I'm a doer. Shit happens in my life because I know how to be very directional. I go from point A to point B. I know how to make shit happen if I have to. I also know how to dial it down, shut the fuck up, be in listening mode, be in the reception mode, which is the feminine principle. And so a lot of men are better at that. I know a lot of men who are better at being in the feminine mode than I am. And most of these men are straight. I mean, how they do it, I'm just like, so I'm learning. My partner is very, very masculine, and he's much better at being in his feminine than I am. I'm learning how to do that, to be in that receptive mode, and to not to feel like I have to do a tit for tat thing to earn my keep, to be deserving to receive love.
Right.
I mean, it's a wacky, ongoing immersion and an ongoing evolution, in my life, the category of love relationships, of friendships, learning how to forge friendships with women, because my biggest wounding is with women, not the men.
Right.
And so that's like a huge thing. So for me, my inner work has really been about becoming friendly with my feminine nature, my vulnerability, also becoming friendly with the masculine within, who's just the doer, my inner man doing. And, sometimes I get really pissy and I emasculate him. It's not cool. It's not cool to get on your inner masculine's case, especially when the feminine can't focus, because, the feminine is whirly twirly. It's very chaotic. It's not directional. It's all over the map. It's changeable, and at the same time, that's one of the like really cool things about feminine energy, whether you're a man or a woman. You just change it up, be creative, explore things,
Sure. And the same thing can happen vice versa. Like, it's like I've seen a lot of women being able to embody masculine energy almost like better than me in a sense, like with the constant doing and planning and just strategic stuff, and so that's something that I need to work on sometimes too. And like when things go, like instead of staying calm, like if I have a technical issue, back here or something, instead of staying calm, a lot of the times my feminine will just be going crazy, like cursing out the computer and just like like what, like like just like trying to get into it with the computer, like overly emotional response, like and that's when, and I think things start to get even more messed up when I'm just like rabidly like just like trying to make things work. Like the more I try to make it work, again, I'm pushing up against the matrix of trying to make it work.
Yes.
So then of course, like I'm just like I'm doing silly things and not even thinking straight. Like I can't even think of an example, but I'm like X'd out of this thing, or I blew up this thing too much over here, and like I'm just, because I'm not focused, I'm just like getting really angry.
Yeah.
Especially before, like a lot of times before something really exciting is supposed to happen is when my inner feminine freaks out. Like, but like just now when I was getting set up, I'm just like, all right, I gotta get this set up. I gotta find this charger. And I was just like, and I was kind of like being a little bit nuts. And then, the other day I was going to a concert with my friends. And of course, it's supposed to be fun, but it's just like, of course, we're freaking out like about the directions, and and I'm just kind of like, I was just had this nervous, tense energy, just because I wanted everything to go off without a hitch. And so like any little hiccup was just like, like, so,
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and that is the clash of the masculine feminine, because, the feminine sort of chaotic nature, I mean, that's fucking art, man. It's totally art.
Mm-hmm.
And then the masculine wants to get in there and just like, whoa, there, Missy, rein it in and be, and, it's like there's a time and place for all of that. And I know that when I get chaotic and I start whirling and twirling, the opposite of that chaotic whirling, twirling of the changeable feminine is the masculine, not the doing, but the ability for the masculine, whether you're a man or a woman, to be steadfast and anchored in active stillness, in addition to tuning in with reining in the feminine, in allowing the feminine to step back and listen, to receive the guidance. So there's two things going on there. There's the active masculine, active stillness, and the active feminine in receptive mode. Asking the question, what next? How does this get resolved? Okay. And to be able to listen for the answer and receive it.
Yeah. And the way you said, like, how does this get resolved is that's like the masculine kind of question, would you say?
I think so. And it's also too, I think it's a culmination, because, the feminine is really in charge of the sort of what it is that she wants.
Right.
And that's where the clarity is, so that the masculine can actually take action and make it so. So that interchange of the masculine and feminine within, you got to have the dialogue internally.
Right.
Because in the matrix, the gender divide with all the different fucking pronouns, it's like, oh my God, stop it. And then they want to weaponize it all against each other and be offended. And people can't see. You can't see this is a ruse, kids, to get us.
I don't even know how they can't see it anymore. I don't know, but what you brought up just now about the inner dialogue, it actually made me think of another thing that happened that I overheard someone say the other day when I was out. This guy was talking to, I was just like, I met these people. We just had a brief conversation about music or whatever. But then this girl was talking to her friend about her problems and whatnot. And he turns to her and says, let me give you some really good advice. The worst thing you could ever do is be alone with your own thoughts. So don't ever be alone with your own thoughts ever, and you'll be fine.
Oh boy.
I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, like, shadow work, inner dialogue, integration of the masculine and feminine, just throw it out the window and just immerse yourself in the collective. That's the answer. And I'm just like, and I was like, this is why the world is not.
Yeah, that's pop culture. That's pop culture. It's just like, let's just hand over our inner authority to this mass consciousness shit show that leaves everybody enslaved forever and ever and ever and ever. I mean, you talk about, it's like, oh God, yikes. And people buy it.
All right. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because they want to belong. It's better to be part of the mob than have to think for yourself. Holy shit,
Yep. FOMO, fear of missing out. That's the thing.
Right. Exactly.
They call it. Exactly. So just getting into relationships and just where, like, because I wanted to talk about the heart-based humanity and like jumping into divine, like we're going to go over the different relationships types, but what I'll say is that I think that everyone craves a real wholesome relationship with like another person, with another whole person. They crave a certain type of love, but then we end up with something that's way downgraded. And so I think the video that you shared with me the other day called How to End a First Date exemplified because like if you're craving real love, genuine connection with another person, what you're gonna stumble into, you might stumble into the polar opposite of that, so you can learn about it. And so, but that video exemplifies like kind of where people are at, I think, when you get into like I guess it's like the second level relationship, which we're going to go over. Maybe I'll just briefly just say what the 4 types are. Like you have survival, power. What is it? Level 1 is survival. Level 2 is power, role playing. Level 3 is neo-equality, personal power and freedom. And then level 4 is the one that everyone's secretly, or like subconsciously craving or consciously craving, is the divine love. But like, so the power, role playing, and the one-upmanship is in this clip that I'm going to try to like show this clip.
Oh my God, a fucking thing is just, it makes me roar every time.
I had a really nice time today.
Me too.
I feel like I should have walked you home.
No, you're on the way. It's fine.
Yeah. Listen, would you want to come upstairs?
Is it all right if we're honest with each other?
Yeah, of course.
I want to see your apartment before I decide if I'm going to have sex with you.
Okay, that's cool.
Great, because if you don't have air conditioning, we're not even going to dry hump.
Okay, I have really good air conditioning, so we're going to dry hump. Can I be honest with you?
Of course.
My apartment is nice. I have a chaise lounge, so we're probably going to have sex. And listen, you're really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I'm probably going to come really fast because you're really gorgeous.
I appreciate you being honest. Is it okay if I'm like really honest?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm not physically attracted to you at all. You're not awful looking. You're just sort of average, and you have a really big forehead.
Yes.
So the way I see it is we'd fuck for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
You'd come, I'd fake it, and then we'd watch the end of Austin Powers on TBS or something.
Huh.
Then next weekend, you take me to a nicer restaurant. And then somewhere down the line, you buy me something expensive, like a necklace or a trip. And I put in 4 blowjobs. I'm nice to your parents at brunch. And when we break up, I keep the necklace. But this is all depending on your apartment, which you say is nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It is. And that all sounds good. That does sound fair. Can I be really honest with you? Like, really?
Please, yeah.
Okay. You're not a very bright person. I can tell that you had no idea what a chaise lounge was.
I do.
I know. So you're a little bit dumb and kind of boring. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't seem sort of loose and have great breast thing going for you. I would have went to the bathroom during the appetizer and never come back.
That's happened.
Let me just cut to the chase. You fuck me for a month, I'll give you a necklace and we don't have to talk.
I want a bracelet too.
Do you do anal? You get a bracelet then. You don't sleep over.
Pay for my cab for home.
I don't have to go down on you.
That's fine, it wouldn't work anyway.
One last thing.
Yeah?
You can never take a shit in my bathroom. It cannot happen.
Is there a McDonald's nearby that I can use?
Dunkin' Donuts, 24 hours, right down the block.
That works.
Great.
Cool.
We have a nice little arrangement here.
Yeah, I'm really glad we decided to be honest.
Yeah. It's really refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is so nice. I love JD.
People like that deserve each other if that's what they really want, is just to take and not have anything. Because again, it's like when you have this physical world is all there is outlook, you don't even recognize that you're divine in the flesh, so you're not going to look.
No, you don't.
Right?
No, you don't. You don't. You're trying to get something from someone else, and you're using sexual favors or whatever. I would say in the video that it's not even power and submission. This is a tit for tat sort of negotiation of the neo-equality. It's like, so this is third level, anything goes. I mean, one of the things that just cracked me up is like, he just flat out. And here's the one thing: you can never take a shit in my apartment. And she's like, is there a McDonald's? I mean, it's like, what? I just was so floored. But this is the thing, is that it comes down to this fucking nitpicky shit.
Yeah.
And then people are so desperate, they will agree to it because that would be better than just being on my own.
Yeah.
And
what I've learned too is
shallow.
that like it is shallow. And so what I've learned is that there's, we're in a sea of unconscious people. So just give the love to yourself that you can't get, that you're not going to be able to get from the unconscious person. Because it's not that it's like some people what one of us is going to do. What can I do to get her to love me? Nothing. Because if you're a truly balanced and if you're an awesome dude who's got something to offer that's genuine, and she doesn't recognize that, it doesn't matter how hot she is. It doesn't matter whatever the thing is about her. It's over. It's not worth your time, and that's what I'm learning as I get older.
They get stuck, particularly at second level. They get stuck on the roles, the role playing of the executive, the rich executive, and the trophy wife, or the mistress, or whatever. And these people are completely in their roles. Like those women, they aspire to that. A lot of the shows that depict these toxic relationships and these superficial relationships, these shallow, drama-filled, non-exclusive. I mean, it's just like, what the fuck? And people are miserable. They are so miserable. But that's part of the enslavement process. To get unslaved is that you have to realize you are a slave. You have to realize that you are setting yourself up for abuse, that you don't value yourself. And I think on the third level, people value themselves way too much, and so it's like that, and I see it. I saw this interaction with this couple at a Costco. Yep. I was at Costco, and it was kind of fascinating because this woman the wife was very unattractive, but I could tell that when she was young, she probably was attractive, and she had this giant diamond engagement ring. Like, I was just like, wow, that fucking thing is huge. And I'm not into that sort of thing, but I was just kind of like musing. And her husband comes back. They're in line, and there's shit everywhere. The husband comes back. And, you can tell he's the executive, but this is an executive that is beaten down by his bitchy wife, right? And so he brings, like, I guess he got the wrong thing, because all of a sudden this girl goes off. Can't you do anything? Blah, blah, I told you that, blah, blah. You know, and I'm like, whoa, that is so crazy right there. And she just tore him a new asshole. And he's like this, you know, and all of a sudden you see his like body language. His shoulders are sloping and he feels proud and he's embarrassed, because I'm just like, and I'm not the only one that's hearing this, because she's loud and she's calling him names and he's taking it. And I'm just like, wow. So she goes get the thing and comes back, you know, and there's huge lines, and see, this is it. And correcting him again, like it just went on. So I go outside, go back to my car after the whole thing. And of course, they're parked nearby me. And it's a fucking giant Range Rover. He's driving. And she is just like going on and on and on. And so I'm sorry, I would rather kill myself than be stuck in this constant gnashing. Like, that cannot be fun. That can't be fun. And this poor dude, I know this dude, I can see it. I see this so much, where these men break their backs trying to please a very angry woman. And who knows what their story is? Maybe he's an abusive asshole. I don't know. Or maybe she is just fed up and she just sold herself for the, the huge diamond engagement ring, the huge Range Rover, you know, to be able to like go to Costco and drop $1,000 on a bunch of shit, you know, that is never going to fill the void. And these are the roles that people get stuck in, and nobody is happy, but they're in there till death do us part. It's like, oh God, it can't come soon enough.
Well, yeah, this is what I try to explain to my single friends who get like, you know, like, I'm lonely and I'm needy and I'm this and I'm that. And I'm just like, dude, do you really, like, don't you want to like have someone that you really, it's like, I don't even think they really feel like they deserve what's really good for them, you know?
Well, they
like,
probably don't even know what they want.
That's
You're
true.
not working on themselves. I mean, you know, if you're lonely and if you have any self-awareness and you've been in and out of relationships, but the bottom line is that you're still lonely, you're not serving yourself and you're not serving the other people that you're in a relationship with, because you're choosing people who aren't able to meet you because you can't meet yourself. You can't meet yourself because you don't even know that these people are not right for you.
Yeah.
You have to know, people have to understand that if you're going to have a loving relationship, you better have a loving relationship with yourself. You have to be good on your own. You have to be your own best friend.
Yep.
You got to do that. You have to respect yourself. You have to know what it is that you want. What kind of relationship do you want? What are the qualities of a great loving relationship? Do you even fucking know? What, because some bitch is hot? I mean, she may be hot, but you know what? You're not going to fill the void for her, because she wants other things.
Right.
You're not even on the same page. And I know for myself, one of the things that I discovered very, very late in my life, and of course, I was one of those people where I wanted to see the best in everyone. So I had blinders on. You know, I'm just going to see the best. I'm not going to see that you're a lying fucking asshole. I'm not going to see that you don't have a job. I'm not going to see that you don't take care of your kids. Like, I was just like fucking spiritually bypassing, because I wanted to see them as these really great human beings deep down. It's like, girlfriend, no, because these people that I ended up in relationship with, where I would eventually leave them, we didn't have the same outlook on the world. No similar worldview. Okay. No similar morality. Our values were completely different. You know, you can't build something on that, you know, and you can't build a relationship based on physical looks or sexual attraction alone. And that is the tough thing that I think a lot of people struggle with, is that if there's sexual chemistry, they use that as the litmus test as far as, you know, whether this person should be in their lives. If the sex is hot, then yes. Meanwhile, you know, the person is like, it's not happening. I mean, these aren't even good people a lot of the times.
Oh, sure. And it's like, once I started to do some of your exercises for like journaling and like really looking at the qualities that you want in a partner and stuff, you know, I of course do the idiot thing of like telling all my friends, like, this is a really great thing to do, you should try it. And then they go, oh no, man, no, you got to accept people for who they are, you know. Why are you building all these parameters? Why don't you be more open-minded and just let all the shit in that you don't want, you know?
No, you can't. That open-minded thing, that's a program. That's a program in the Matrix. It's called New Age bullshit, you know. It's excusing bad behavior. No, because what ends up happening when you do that, and it's happened to me, it's like, wow, 10 years down the line, this person is still a fucking asshole. And guess what? This person has not contributed to the partnership where you two haven't built anything. I didn't build anything with this person. This person took everything for granted. I had to do everything. You know, where's the fun in that? You don't get to build a new earth with somebody that is taking from you, who can't meet you, who has nothing to contribute, who just sees you, you know, as narcissistic supply. You know, we'll just let her do it. She's, you know, and he used to tell me, you're so much better at being out in the world. And I was flattered by that shit. It's like, dude, stop.
Yeah. And a big wake up call.
Clear.
Right. Big wake up call for me was when I, you know, because for years I was just like, you know, there's a certain type of attractiveness that I never really, before 2019, got to play around with, I guess you could say. And I met this girl who I was physically attracted to, but her personality like was so bad that like by the fifth or sixth time we were hanging out, I was just like, I'm cured. Like, it doesn't like faze me. Like, I don't need to win the approval of people that of any old buddy who's sexy, you know, like I don't need their approval. I want to be approving of them. So it's like, okay, you're sexy, check. That's one box checked. What about all the other boxes? No, you know, X through those.
Very good. You have to have those checks and balances.
Yeah.
You've got to stack it up. You've got to do the fucking math.
Right.
Got to do the math.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you, so how did you come up with the whole relationship tiering system, would you say?
So for me, I just observed. I'm a really great observer of human behavior. And having traveled the world, I got to witness a lot of different situations, different ways of living, and especially when you are in countries that are not like America, not like, you know, Western society, say in like Europe, you know, Europe and the United States, very, very similar in their structures. But you go to like the Middle East, or you go to Southeast Asia, they're different kinds of relationships. There are people who live off the land. They are not immersed in any kind of technology. They don't watch TV. They grow their own food. They make their own clothes. They're very, very influenced by modern society. And so I had these opportunities where I met some of these people. And I got to speak to, say, some of the elders or some of the kids or the adults that grew up there and then chose to become westernized and then came back. And, to understand that, when you live of the earth and you're not associated with Western society and modern society, you have to understand weather patterns. You have to be able to protect yourself from other humans that would have ill intentions, wild animals. You'd have to be able to deal with natural disasters. You'd have to understand how to make your own food, hunt your own food, all that kind of stuff. And what I noticed about these families is that there was this reverence for Mother Nature. Also a reverence for, the cohesive, collective interaction with your tribal members. There was a mutual respect. There also was a lot of like weird sort of superstitions that were like sort of borderline, a little scary, like talking about cannibalism. I mean, let's just be frank here. And so those were kind of my experiences. And then, of course, reading about pygmies and other tribal cultures that are like untainted by modern society, and just really looking at that sort of survival thing. You do things, your life is predicated upon contributing to the welfare of your tribe. It's not about you. Mm-hmm. So there is this sort of cooperative collaboration with nature and with each other. Okay. Now, what I also notice is by talking to a lot of homeless people that, people who chose to extricate themselves from modern society for whatever reason, whether they were disenfranchised or just not having it, wanting to be off the grid, their descriptions of living off the earth, living off of, the grace of God by intentionally putting out there, I'm off the grid, and I'm putting out there that my universe is going to take care of me. Mm-hmm. And so I've had lots of conversations with quote unquote homeless people who live off the grid, who do the same thing, live off the land, live off of God's grace, have to pay attention to weather patterns and be able to, defend what little they have, or to be okay with what little they have, and to be able to, hunt and fish, forage for fruits and nuts and all that kind of stuff. So, I would just like, I was just like so curious, and I'm like going, could I do that? Could I do that? And I've done survivalist training. So, and that's a whole other thing, because it's like taking myself out of what I'm used to and going into the elements. I'm telling you, it's some of the best training that I think I ever did, is to be able to know that if I was stuck, I'd have a good chance. And I'd also still have a good chance that I'd probably die too. You know what I'm saying? So there's that aspect. And then, so after that, what is it that you're learning? Is you're learning rules, regulations. You're learning how to be part of organizations bigger than you, like modern society, all that kind of stuff with different family structures and the sort of power dynamics of master slave. In fact, one of the things that I noticed in some of the cultures that I was learning about is that they were easily exploited by these power factions, if you will, whether it's commercial fishing or whatever it is, where they would have to go toe to toe. And a lot of them were like exploited, either as indentured servants, servitude, getting trafficked, for instance, all that kind of stuff. So there's that aspect. And then when you look at the sort of dynamic of, say, the relationship between the rich executive and the trophy wife, there is a mutuality there. There's an agreement that, yeah, I'm going to take care of the house, take care of the kids, and, you know, and you're going to buy me this and that and protect me and all that kind of stuff. And in that power dynamic, men like that. They want to be able to do that, and they want to have the last word. And, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but is it a conscious relationship? No, it's role playing. You know, this is just what they do. And I know quite a number of women who've been housewives or mistresses of executive men, you know, that kind of type. And it's like this, it's almost like this very dominant, submissive kinds of interactions where it's inherently understood that if I'm going to submit to you, then you're going to just take care of all my needs. You're going to, I get the house, I take care of the kids, and in exchange, I get all your money. You know, it's not necessarily about loyalty, because most of these men and women who are in the power position, they want more and more and more power, which means, you know, it's more pussy, more dick, more freebies, more I get to do my thing and I don't have to answer to you.
Right.
You know,
like I can cheat on you all. You know, they become cheaters, and then it's just,
yeah,
they don't like care, and neither does the woman. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on how powerful the guy is, and you know, she'll just, you know, I think a lot of times, like, I see women will be arguing with their partner about, oh, you were talking to this girl, you were talking to that girl, or, you know, are you cheating on me or are you not? But I think underneath that, like, subconsciously, they're just like, yeah, well, my guy's pretty valuable in society, so even though he's, you know, fucking around, I got a good one because they all want him. You know, it's like, it's such a weird,
right, exactly. It's a weird
thing.
ego trip. Really, really weird ego trip. And of course, there's also the whole thing with these kinds of women, like the star fuckers, for instance. I mean, they just go from one famous dude to the next, 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 because they can. You know, if it doesn't work out with this guy, they'll find another guy who's bigger, badder, richer, whatever. And, you know, and it just goes on. It goes on. But it's definitely, it's status oriented, power oriented. And, you know, I mean, look at these people. I mean, it's not happy, and it's very, very unconscious. It's very automated, you know. I mean, I hear it all the time. Well, this is what we do. It's like, really? Okay.
Well, because to them, there is, again, they're not conscious of, or at least, like, even without knowing Marja West, they could still kind of pinpoint, like, where they're at on this, like, relationship scale, but they never will. It's like, you know, power role playing, that's what love is, you know, and and so they don't know anything outside of that. That's
Yeah.
just what you
Yeah.
do. That's what being in a relationship, in a romantic relationship, is, because they see it in the movies, and it's like it just must be this
Right.
way. Like,
Right.
um,
And it's a
so, yeah.
status society is like that, where when you start dealing with classism, you don't choose someone out of your class. And I have really one of my oldest friends comes from a very wealthy, high society kind of thing, and she's had it ingrained in her that here's the guy, he's a billionaire, and she stays home. Oh no, I don't work. I mean, she's one of my friends that she's told me over the years, she goes, you're such a looker. Women who look like you shouldn't have to work. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, let me know next life. I don't want to come back. I'm done. But that is the mindset, and it's entitlement. It's entitlement, and people are they're mind controlled elitists to actually believe that this is their world. And I think too that, and I'm not defending them, some of these people that I know who are in these relationships are actually happy because it works out. It works out. They're in alignment with their programming.
Yeah, I was just thinking that myself, because it's kind of like an avoidance of responsibility, and like you get to it almost like they get to, it's like their daddy issues type of thing. It's like they can almost be young still, be like a kid or whatever. Like they don't have to deal with any responsibilities. So they could just have fun 24/7. But then, it goes back to the whole thing with like, people might get something out of the Matrix, like fun 24/7 because my husband's a billionaire, or even, this might seem unrelated, but I can tie it in. Like when people get something out of organized religion, oh, it helped my life so much. But this is where we're talking about the aggregate of society. It might be good for your life, but what is that happening over and over again in the aggregate really doing to the world? And so it's not the kind of question that type of person is going to ask,
right?
Because they're in what Mark Passio would define as a satanic mindset of, it's like the reverse of malignant collectivism. It's like the ultimate like retreat into just pure, hedonistic like self-indulgence, So, but like you already answered my next two questions, because you talked about level 1 and you talked about level 2. And so like real quick, just so to give the audience some context here, I have your chart from your book, and it's a good breakdown of the 4 different levels. And I was just gonna read a couple of the bullet points that you have on there. So the first level of Marja talked about when she was referring to like homeless people and indigenous tribes and things like that, that would be the level of survival, which she has is, and I hope I pronounce this right, Muladhara.
Muladhara. So it's based on the first chakra.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the first chakra, well, not a lot of people know that. So the first chakra is in charge of security, protection. It's our environment. So at the first level, you are actually vulnerable to your environment outside of society, so and that's the whole thing, is that we have this illusion in the Matrix that living in a city and society, modern society, with all the accoutrements and all the amenities, that's life. No, it's just one aspect of life on the planet. But people want to see that as the norm. And also I wanted to also say about the levels is that we can bounce and we can move from level to level to level depending on the circumstances. So I think I believe that I had an example in the book of a man who was kind of the house husband, and then the wife died, and then being put in a position where, you know, is he going to drop into a survival level, or is he going to learn how to hone skills where he can actually go out in the world and take responsibility and provide for his family?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
or
and I agree with
losing everything. Like I know a bunch of people, because of at 7-19, the COVID, that they're living in their fucking vans, homeless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there, you know, the circumstances really just kind of dictate, you know, how it is that you are going to, how are you going to survive? How are you going to live? You know?
Yeah.
And I think these
And you
are
could have-
these are questions that you need to ask if you're going to be in a relationship with someone. How are we going to live? What's the plan?
Right.
What's it look like?
Sure thing. I mean, like, and there are going to be experiences in life where you get knocked back down to that level for a while, and you're kind of in reptilian survival mode. Like, you know, it's like I've known people who's gotten their car repossessed, and all of a sudden it's like, well, now I have all this other stuff to work out. Like, you know, I was like, how am I going to get here? How am I going to get there? Like, how am I going to learn to live without a car when I've had it for so long? Now
Yeah.
that's, you know, so it's like, there's certain things like that happen where, you know, or like the financial crisis, like people lose their houses, and like, so now they're not at the level they were at before in terms of their own, because once you build that base for yourself, like food, shelter, and you know, a way to like earn some type of income to survive, that's when you can do other things with your life. That's when you can move on from survival. But then when you run into some type of hardship, you kind of have to like pump the brakes on like the creative stuff that you might be doing or anything else to kind of sort that out so that you can actually move back beyond the level again, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, I know people who live in communal communities, utilizing permaculture. So there is this. It's a very interesting combination of living off the earth and also creating these collaborative relationships. And I haven't interacted with them much, so I couldn't tell you whether they were level 3, level 4. I have no idea. But this is what I'm saying, is that it's not, these levels are not black and white.
Yeah.
They are interactive depending on what it is you are envisioning and setting the collective intention to intend all of that to materialize, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I just wanted to like, again, just give people like a context for each one. And like, again, like Marja said, like it's not black and white. So there's always going to be an aspect of all of these kind of going on in your life and in the world. So yeah, like, so the first level was survival. And so she writes, abiding by nature's laws, working with nature and land, mastering its dangers, weather, animals, other humans. Relationship to the planet is important. Procreation, you know, and community, which she talked about too. And then, so power. Then the next level is going to be power role playing, like the master slave dynamic. There's positive and negatives to all these too. So it's like, but you know, that's like the role playing and the, you know, what she just described before with that. And so now we're getting to the neo-equality thing. So this is when it gets like people kind of want to move. You know, I was thinking that the power role playing thing can kind of be more seen as, in some cases, traditional, conservative, maybe, to use that term loosely, But then when you get into the neo-equality, that's when it gets like hippy dippy, and it seems like it looks like freedom. It's, you know, it has a kind of a ring to it like freedom, but it's like underneath that is it's another form of it can be also like detrimental to your soul, like, you know, because it's like there's the free love, and then there's this belief that, you know, the belief in scientism. So I think the power role-playing folks may be more into organized religion, and the neo-equality folks are kind of more about the scientism aspect. You know, the people that are really into the, you know, the third level, the quote unquote free love and open relationships things.
Right. The new age love and light.
Yeah. They actually believe, and I've heard this before from multiple people who try to talk me out of trying to find the right girl or the right person. They'll be like, no, don't you understand? You can't be with one person anymore. We've learned, science has taught us that it's unnatural for human beings to be with just one person. You know, polyamory is what's natural, and
yeah,
it's a choice.
I've been in polyamorous relationships. It's not my thing. I don't choose that. I really don't choose it. It's way too much fucking weird energy for me. I can't track it, and my body didn't like it, you know, because at the end of the day, these people were all shysters. They were all fucking lying. You know, they weren't honest about what they were up to. These were very broken people. And I'm not saying, I know some people in third level relationships where it works for them. More power to them. But they also have no illusions. They don't have any illusions or expectations. I mean, what it seems to me, there's always a way out. There's a back door. There's an egress. It doesn't work out. Just get the fuck out.
Well, yeah, and you know, it's not like there's always a way out. Like in terms of like, if someone's abusing you, there's a way out. That would be a good thing. But we were talking about if you're just if they just don't want to get to know you. That thing is like it's like everything's shallow, and it's like they don't really want to know who you are as a person. And as long as they never have to, you know. And that's the thing. It's just like you know, I've met people. You know, I've started to date, go on a few dates with them, and then it became obvious that they have no interest in who I am as a person. Yeah. When I speak, they just totally space out, and then they like misinterpret everything that I said. And, you know, I could tell they weren't listening. And then it's like they're not really interested in who you are. It's like, again, they're interested in what they can get from you, but they'll never admit to it or something like that. So, let me just go over the definition that you had put in the chart for that one. Is just like, so this is there's a positive aspect to this level too. It's like females finally coming, they no longer want to be like the woman that you're talking about before, like, well, he makes $1 billion, I get to sit home and do nothing. This is when women want to like be more independent and like not be dependent and not like, you know, have to crave that and create a life of their own and for themselves, and exploring their own inner masculine, and, you know, becoming having a successful career and learning new skills and things. And this is the realm in where men explore their own feminine nature, and, you know, they might take what would be considered more of a feminine role, like you know, so like being a musician or like a hairstylist or something like that is a little bit more on the feminine side. And I've said that to people before, and they say, oh, don't put yourself down. Don't say that being a musician is feminine. That's not what you should say, man. You're a real man, You're masculine. Don't say that about yourself. I'm like, you don't have any fucking clue what I'm actually saying. And that's the thing too, is words have been changed, and the original meanings of words have been lost. And so we get lost in the word salad.
Yeah.
And so they think they don't even realize what I'm saying because they have the wrong definition in their mind. You know, I've even had one woman say to me once, oh, when I use the term femininity, she's like, oh, you're confused. You mean feminism. Because there's no such thing as femininity. You're talking about feminism, right? I'm just like, I can't. I was just shocked that you even exist. Like, someone. Yeah. But yeah, so, you know, and so what we saw in that video clip is an example of like the negotiation, the tit for tat thing. I'll do this for you, and if you do this for me, I'm not doing it out of love. I'm just doing it because I know that you'll get me back, and we'll just keep going. I'll get you back, you get me back.
Exactly.
And this happens in friendship relationships too. It's like, and it just kind of happens it's just we don't really think about it. It's just like my friend will spot me for a drink this time, I'll get him next time, and it's that's okay, to do that. But that's just kind of a hallmark of, that level. Again, it's not about getting stuck at one level. It's just like, but when you are going to experience this level, this is what we're talking about. Is like when you're actually in that realm.
To be conscious, does this work for you? Does this kind of negotiation thing work for you? And here's what's tricky, because part of being a really, really fantastic communicator, regardless of your relationship style, is to be able to negotiate and to be able to express yourself, in a friendship, just like what you were saying, there's an understanding between you and your friend regarding spotting each other on drinks and being reciprocal and having a very reciprocated relationship, friendship. But how do you have to establish that? There has to be a rapport. There has to be a relationship and a baseline for how you conduct it, and these are agreed upon either formally or they're understood.
Yeah. And so with that, I just getting back to level 2 for a minute. I have more questions on that. I know we're kind of jumping around here.
No, yeah, it's cool. We should jump around. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? I'm feminine.
Yeah.
I could dig it. I can track it.
I get in the masculine mode where I'm just like, okay, this is next, this is next, this is next. But this just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
This is organic, the way things are flowing.
Yeah, it's flowing really.
Flow is feminine. It doesn't have to be like, this kind of anal analytic, directional, bullet point, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. And so going back to I was curious because I just noticed that at level 2 you have that connected with power, domination, control, and then there's also the aspect of worshiping the physical beauty. And so to me it's like worshiping physical beauty, again, that's only one aspect of who a person is, but there is something fun and natural and genuine about that too. And I'm just trying to figure out where the connection is, because for me it's like when I admire beauty, I don't really make the connection with like the power, the domination and control part of it. So I'm just trying to figure out like where is that, like where does that whole thing tie in?
Well, I think it ties in with what people's priorities are. Like, I know men who will only date women who have double deep boobs.
Okay, yeah.
And barring all other qualities, that's what they fucking go for, and they wonder why they're just fucked over constantly.
Yeah.
It's one thing. Why not have, if that's what you're into, that can be one of the attributes that you intend in your person, because we all have physical things that we are attracted to. That is part of the polarization that creates attraction, magnetism, electricity, all of that. There's nothing wrong with it. I have preferences. Like people are shocked when remember years ago when I was in San Francisco, my ex-girlfriend Stefania came to visit, and Stefania is tall, blonde. She's 6'2", And then she likes wearing spiked heels because she's very, very feminine. She's also kind of broad-shouldered and can be really, really, really manly. But it's like people are shocked because, you know, we were like Mutt and Jeff. I'm 5 feet tall, but I definitely have you know, I want my partners to be physically fit. You have to be able to keep up with me. I don't want to kill you. You know, I have a lot of energy. I don't want to kill you. And so it's funny. I was chatting with my beloved, and I had this thought. I go, ooh, wouldn't it be neat to have one more of me? Because, you know, I was thinking, yeah, I could clone myself, and that clone could work on myself. I could work on me while I lay on my healing table. I was just making a joke. And I said something like, ooh, and two of me on you. And he just said, fucking give me a heart attack, you know. So we just laugh about that kind of stuff, and that's part of it too. It's like the attribute, the quality of humor, the quality of lightheartedness, the quality of being able to be vulnerable with your beloved and know that they're not going to take that vulnerability and use it against you and throw it in your face at the most inopportune moment, particularly if you're hurting or having a bad day, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, these are qualities we got to think about, that kind of stuff, you know. And so going back to the second level, one of my good friends who's been married to this man since like 1978. I was in their wedding, and she's never worked. But she also has this knack for knowing when her husband has had a bad day. And it's really interesting because she'll like go, oh, Richard's having a bad day. I'm going to do something extra nice, you know. And they have a very, very nice second level relationship. It works. And he's not a disrespectful asshole. He just, you know, he wants to make the money. She raised the kids. She keeps a house. You know, they go on vacations together. He's not a cheater or anything like that. But the part of her that is able to tune in to what her husband needs at the end of the day, you know, so she goes the extra mile and like, will like make him the special food, you know, and he's very appreciative. So, you know, when I say these levels, I'm not poo-pooing them. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying that there are these attributes. And I think one of the things that we all need to put into our creation cauldron in relationships is that sort of the sweetness of intimacy, of being a good friend.
Yeah, and I think that's once you get to that point, you are integrating the higher consciousness too.
Yes.
And so you may have a second level, third level setup, but if you're being respectful towards each other, if you really enjoy each other's company, you know, you don't feel, it's like if you don't, you're cheat. When people cheat, it's because they're, you know, you wouldn't need to cheat if you genuinely liked being around that person. And so it's like, for me, real love is like, it doesn't matter if you're in a polyamorous or, you know, one person monogamous thing. If you genuinely care about the people that you're around or the person that you're around, and you just want, it's something about like, I feel an obligation to be with them because they've been through a lot of shit or like whatever the case, or I feel the need to, I can't be alone. You know, it's better to just be like, I think they're awesome and I love being around them and we have a great thing going and we're not going to deny that. And we're not going to deny ourselves of that. You know, that's when it can be really healthy. I
agree. I totally agree.
And so, like diving into hallmarks of level 4, my first question on that was, do you believe that level 4 is the most desirable form of love for the human soul?
You know what? I can't answer that honestly. I know it is for me. I know it is for me, for myself, and for my partner. Yes, we have the same leanings, the same morality, the same worldview. But I think, like for instance, the people that I know who are in successful polyamorous relationships and communities, more power to them. They've done the great work to work out that power dynamic. So perhaps they are on level 4. I mean, I couldn't attest to that because I can only speak from my own experience. But so there is that. So I don't know. I would say that if we are saying that level 4 is relationships outside of the matrix, that is outside of all programming, then yes.
Which that's a rare thing. That's such a, you have to, that's something that's like, you have to have 2 people that are conscious of a lot of the things we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Right?
And they are intentional in what it is that they are creating in their relationship. Okay.
Right.
So it's a collaborative, co-creative, intentional relationship. I don't know many people who are like that, and my partner and I, we've been together almost 2 years, and we are just in that space of talking about that sort of collaboration, what that would look like, and for a lot of people, I know a lot of people who are in long-term, what I would call heart-based new humanity relationships, level 4, and they don't live together. Is that really a requirement that we're supposed to cohabitate?
That's interesting. I never would even
Right?
thought of that.
So this is the thing. It's like, what works for you? You get to create that. I mean, we have these templates, but you get to create and fill in the details.
Right. So the way I envision like that level of a relationship would be like a couple that like does something creative together that actually helps in service to truth and the great work. That would be, one example of that.
Absolutely. And leading that by example.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking of like Larkin Rose and his wife, like for some reason, because they're on my friends list, and like I want to have them on the show eventually because I love Larkin's work. But like that's Larkin, and then Logan Hart. Those are the people that and I'm not like jealous of them, but I do have a certain level of like envious of them. But it's actually inspiring because it's like I talked to Logan about it too before. The things that I've dealt with, and I said like I settle for people that are not at my level of awareness. And like, who don't have as much heart-based intelligence. And he's just like, don't. He's like, just wait as long as you have to. He's like, I stayed single for 6 years. I worked on myself. And then my wife came along, and she's a spiritual healer. She's a teacher of natural law like I am. And, and I waited for that to come in my life. And and I put myself out there and did the great work, so that like someone like that, I would cross paths with them.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing. It's intentional. I waited almost 10 years for my partner. And isn't it interesting that I would meet him during the COVID, the lockdown. And when I think about all of the shit shows that were like going on before all that went down, living in and out of Europe over the last 3 years and just crazy, and just doing stuff to promote my book and trying to do this and that. And, things don't work out for a reason, because had I gotten all the book translations, I would be in Europe right now I would have missed out on this man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so things happen for a reason. And so during the quote unquote lockdown, what did I do? I got to know this man and fell in love for the first time since 1994. And the only
Right
other
on.
person that I was in love with, he's not even alive anymore. He's dead. So, you know, it's like, that's so cool. And you start, you know, the synchronicities, like with Logan and his wife, you know, both healers, both natural law teachers, you know, I mean, it's like, and with me and my guy, music, magic,
Right.
you know, plants, crystals, and it's just and you know, he's 49 days older than me. We're the same age, you know, so
That's really
me
helpful too.
defaulting to these men and women who are 10 years younger than me, 15 years younger than me, 20 years younger than me. Jesus Christ. I mean, I look back on that and I have to laugh because it's like, chica, what were you doing? You know, and what I was doing is that I was learning how to love myself by choosing people who couldn't meet me. You know,
Exactly.
and you go down that road enough times, as you mentioned about Logan, you know, you pull yourself back and you work on yourself. You get good with your masculine and feminine. You learn how to be your own best mate. And before you know it, you know, here the person appears when you least expect it. And that's what happened for me. You know, I was trying to manifest my hot MacGyver Mr. Fix-It. And it was him. And then I realized, oh, wait. He's got all these other things going on too. Like, who knew? Who the fuck knew?
Yeah. And I want to give a quick anecdotal story.
Mm-hmm.
Because at my job, one day they asked me to watch the door. So I was sitting at a door all day. You know, it's like watching paint dry. But but before that, you know, when I was out and about doing the work that I do, I was getting laser focused on the social engineering programs. You know, this is how there's so many women out there who have this and that bias, who are like authority worshipers or scientism worshipers or organized religion or military, like all these people that are obsessed with all these institutionalized structures. I get laser focused on them. I think they're the only ones that exist. Or I get laser focused on like just, you know, the types of girls that I, you know, would meet at a local bar who's just like, let's get shit faced, let's get blasted, let's party all night, and let's not care where we end up. You know, I focused on all these qualities about women, you know, that I've met that I don't like. And then, so this one day when I was just sitting by the door, I was just like, let me try what Marja suggests. And it's like to envision the type of, give the energy, focus more on the energy on what you actually want. And then that's when I realized I don't even freaking know. So then during this shift that I had, I thought about it and I went through it, and I got better at it. The more I started to like ruminate on that, and I started to feel better too. Like I wasn't as like down in the dumps and like stressed out. I was just like, oh
exactly,
yeah,
because you're elevating yourself.
Yeah.
You're elevating yourself. In doing that, you're actually cultivating and embodying your worth.
Yeah.
And you're endeavoring, you're putting out your intention to have your match, to magnetize your match.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing.
It is. And so, but what actually resulted from that, because then I got excited. I'm like, oh, like, you know, who am I going to meet now that I did this great work? Like, but then what happens in the universe is like, it's almost like there's the temptation there, because I did meet several women after I did that exercise, but they weren't actually cutting it. So I had to be like, well, they don't check out all the boxes.
Exactly. You have to refine and discern and reject. It's like, nope, not good enough. And that's okay. That's good.
Yeah, and that's
because then you're making room for her. Or him.
Exactly. You're making room for the person that's out there that you really do want. And then this other person that you may let into your space is going to occupy that space when they shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
I've recently had an experience where, like, years ago, I have recently had an experience where there was someone who's kind of obsessed with me and was giving me a lot of attention and was just like, and that was nice, at first, but then it got weird, because then I was just like, this person does not meet my criteria, and as flattered as I am, I have to just like let them down easy.
Yeah.
And it was hard to do that because, of course, I was just like, well, maybe I could bring something great out of them. Maybe there's something they could learn from me. But then as the thing ran its course more and more, I'm just like, there's something inside me that just doesn't really vibe with this person, even if it's something as little as like, the particular person I'm thinking of did have a lot of like anti-authoritarian kind of leanings, like, fuck the mask, and I don't, the vaccine is,
sure,
you can't trust.
sure.
And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. But then, of course, there was things that they had in terms of addiction issues and just, not like being very outer directed, worrying about like what other people think, what other people are doing.
Right.
And just like, and of course, there was a certain level where I had to like get kind of back into the second level mode, where it's just like, maybe she has inner qualities that you like, but there are still physical attributes that you're just not vibing with. And that might seem shallow on the surface if you say like, well, there's certain physical things about her that I just couldn't deal with. Maybe that sounds shallow, but I'm actually doing myself and her a favor.
Yeah, exactly. Why be miserable? Why be miserable?
Right.
Why settle?
Never be able to say why, because it's something about them physically that you don't want to hurt their feelings, because it's like they can't do anything about it.
It's not a match. I'm not feeling it.
Not a match, right? Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like, but people don't want to give themselves the opportunity to really envision. Like, I've said this to several people. I was like, well, what do you really want? Do you like envision what you want? It's like, no, what they want is for the collective of men or women to accept them. So it's like, if the mass majority of me,
that is a fucked up mess right there. That's a mess. Yeah. That is drama.
Yeah. And it's like, and then they want to judge you based on where it's like, well, it's like, how many, like, where, like my friend, I have one friend's like, I want to get my numbers up. Where are your numbers at? Like, numbers? My numbers are down here, but I made them that way because I know what I fucking want, and I want to wait until that comes up. And I want to, I want to be in my element creatively, because I spent years not doing any music, not making podcasts, not doing anything to contribute to the great work, or even to contribute to my own like ability to create. Like, I would just like sit and just be depressed and like sit and like, read dating 101 books and like try to
God. Okay, that's depressing right there.
That's depressing.
And so for you as a masculine essence entity in the physical, your purpose, your raison d'etre, your reason for being is directly related to your creativity and your ability to materialize. That is, take in the inspiration from like your crown and bring it down and manifest it through music, through your videos, through your intentionality of what it is that you want to write about, what it is that you want to share, what the information that you want to disseminate, the lessons that you're learning and want to impart and share. I mean, and this allows the masculine to be on his purpose. And that makes you more attractive and magnetic to the feminine, because with the feminine, always there is that attraction factor, the magnetic electric, if that interaction, it weaves itself together.
Yeah. And expanding on the integration between masculine and feminine, I remember being in a mode where I was in a hyper overly feminized mode where it was always just like thinking about projects I wanted to do and thinking about it to the point where I like thought about every fine detail. And then I realized 6 weeks have gone by and I haven't done shit. Like it's all been a fantasy and none of it I integrate into reality. And so it took me some time to really be like, well, what steps do I need to take to integrate this into reality? And like
writing it down right there. There's a masculine doing where you are taking that inspiration that you've received. Your feminine has received it and they're outpouring. The energy comes through your hands, whether it's on the computer or a longhand, whatever. And it starts to materialize.
Right. And I think some of the times when I've reached out to you when I was down in the dumps recently, and you've definitely helped me out and kind of wake up again. But what happens is, I'll be doing the journaling and I'll meet someone who checks off a couple boxes, and I'll be like, all right, she checked off, she's really got some qualities that I really like. But then it's just like, if she, again, it's like, just because she checks off a couple boxes doesn't mean if I'm like most authentic as I can be, and she doesn't want to give me the time of day. Like I was talking to Jojo about this too. She was just like, I was saying, oh, I was talking to this girl and, we were kind of hitting it off. And then, all of a sudden she just stopped talking. She just flat out started ghosting me. And we would see this one particular girl, like we were talking and we were getting along. But then when it came down to saying, hey, do you want to go do something? Then that's when she didn't say anything. And I was like, well, what did I do to like make her want to do that? She's like, no, obviously not a high quality person if she can't just be like, I don't really want to hang out, or here's the reason why I don't feel comfortable like hanging out right now. Like instead of like being a human being and just giving an explanation for what was going on, she just had to just kind of not even respond to the question or the proposition.
Yeah, not a good match. Not a good match. Not relational.
Yeah. Right. If someone can't treat you like a human being and just like,
Right. There's an energy exchange. There's a gifting, giving, receiving. This is the masculine, feminine. This is our seventh sense. The divine masculine principle of gifting, giving. Also, it's part of this self-defense principle, and then of course with the feminine, receiving, the magnetic principle, the attraction principle. This is all part of it. You're getting, and here's the thing about dating. I think dating is important. You have to get to know the person. Like my guy, we had met 6 months prior to our first date, so to speak. And we went out, and I'm just one of those people. I'm going to get to know your ass. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm sorry. I'm not one of these, we're going to fuck on the first date. No. At my age, it's like, what? Fuck that. I fucked enough. Okay. I don't need to go there. I'd rather fuck myself, frankly. It's like right on. Okay. So we went super, 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 super slow.
Oh, really?
And when it was on, it was on. There was no mistaking it whatsoever. And the thing is that people just they want to lock it in. And then the thing is that it's usually because you're really depending upon the chemistry to carry it out.
But the universe is
able to carry the relationship, and chemistry is great, but the chemistry is going to wax and wane depending on your energy level. It's not sustainable, and it's something that you work at.
And I noticed that the universe is going to kick your ass. Like if you are with the wrong person, you spend too much time with the wrong person trying to make it work with that person, everything is going to work. It's going to, and you're going to mistake it. You're going to think like, oh, they are like this they is trying to pull us apart, babe. We got to stay together. That's not other people as much as it is. That's like the balancing forces of nature being like, no, this doesn't work.
Yes.
Like, we're going to make it so like everything goes wrong until you recognize this is not like, there's like when there's complications, when there's things that are just, when it's not on, when you there's doubt.
And you want to force it. You can't force it. And that's what I'm really enjoying in my guy, is that it's fucking easy.
Mm-hmm.
We don't fight. We've never had a fight.
That way.
We've had disagreements and we're very passionate. You know, he's from New York, so he's fucking loud, man. He'll just, and when I get a certain way, he'll just fucking shut it down. Good. I need to be shut down sometimes. You know, I don't want to fucking mow over some guy. I don't want to do it. And I have the ability to do that. You know, I can just, you know, I don't feel that way about him. You know, I want him to feel good. I want to feel good. I feel good around him. You know, there's a sweetness with us that I can't even describe it. It's just so, it's the right thing.
Right.
It really is. And it's based on mutuality of respect, love. There's this attraction. I mean, it's just juicy. It's off the hook.
Yeah.
And it's not superficial. It's very deep.
And it sounds like you both had a lot of life experience to arrive at this point.
Yes.
And so that's a mistake that we make, that I've made in my life too. It's just like, before I get out of high school, I'm going to find the girl that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. And then it's just like, are you serious? You know, you're not even an adult yet. And I'm thinking that I'm going to find like, oh, there's my sweetheart. And that's going to,
well, and that's part of our mind control program.
Yeah.
In the Matrix, is that, you know, happily ever after, blah, 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 you know, live it for whatever. I've done it all. So, you know, it's like, okay, that's kind of like interesting. And the thing with me and my guy is that we're very compatible, and that's compatibility is not just about chemistry and about morality, but there's a compatibility in terms of your communication style, okay? Your thought quality, the way you connect with your emotions. And so we have similar wounding, but we don't trauma bond. Okay,
That's
so
important.
we don't sit there and fucking ruminate over our stories and repeat it constantly. You know, we both were cheated on. We both were betrayed. So we have that, and we have we have different upbringings, but our bonding style is very similar. We're both very distant. So we both do fight and flight. So I know when we first got together, you know, it was intense, and then I'd be like, okay, I gotta go. So I'd go to my corner, he'd go to his corner, and then we'd come back, and then, but it was never disrespectful, you know? And so you have two distant attachment styles endeavoring to be intimate with one another. So usually you have a distant, and then you have this sort of anxious style, and the one that distances makes the person more anxious. And so there is this chasing. No, it wasn't like that, but I have enough training to understand what was like going on. And we have a free communication with one another. We can actually talk about it. We talked about it. You know, we have this disagreement. And it wasn't even a fight. It was just a disagreement. And I know for me, it's not that I check out. I have to go to my space. I got to go to my space. I got to get in my lane. I have to feel about it, think about it. I journal about it. You know, I process. And he does the same thing in his own way. And so when we came together, we were able to have this very cohesive, very intimate conversation and talk about how we were both affected emotionally. We both started crying, he's okay with tears and all that kind of stuff. So there has to be compatibility with how you communicate, and he's not a yeller. I'm not a yeller, and I don't like people yelling at me. I'm the kind that's like, I'm like, are you gonna hurt me? I cower, or I run away. I'd most likely run away.
And what's cool is that, like, these healthy sort of disagreements that you have, it sounds like it keeps you both individuated while still being in the relationship.
Yes.
So it's like you're not losing yourself in another person.
No,
You're
and
still
he's not losing himself. And we don't kowtow to each other's dysfunction or kowtow to each other's whatever wounding we're working through. So in other words, he takes full responsibility for his shit, and I take full responsibility for my shit. I'm not looking at him to fix my shit or to define me in any way. So, and I think that's like really healthy. And I think way too many relationships fall on each other. Hold me up, fix me in, like ick.
Yeah, and then I think some people get in the mentality is just like, well, if we never have any sort of like because the disagreements help you get to know each other too. Like it's not like you can always be at each other's throats. And you even said that you don't really fight, but you do have these moments where it's just like, that's just you guys trying to figure each other out. And
we have strong I have a very strong personality. I'm pushy. He's pushy. So we're both the same. And so, it's learning to, it's like a dance.
Right.
Learning to dance with each other.
That's a beautiful thing. And I think when there's like abusive relationships, it's probably coming from like one person is like has an overly masculine dominating personality, and the other one is imbalanced toward the feminine, seeing the best in everyone. So it's like I see the best in this guy who's an abuser, and I see it all the time. It's just like, all the things that he's been through, and like, oh, he was in the, he's dealt with PTSD from being in the military or whatever. It's like always. And I'm not like just picking on the military, even though I do that a lot. And there's, but at the same time, I'm just saying that there's people who they'll stick with an abuser because they'll know that person's story, they'll feel empathy, or they just might mistake something. What Michael Tessarian talks about a lot is like, you might have some positive traits within yourself, and you'll pretend that other, like you project your own virtues onto that other person. And then it's just like you have no idea what's going on when shit hits the fan. Because like, I thought you were like this, Yeah.
And I think that's part of getting to know someone. And so he and I were pushing 2 years, and I know how he deals with things. And that's part of one of the reasons why, I really admire him, is because he's a rock solid person. His trustability, it's not just about his trustability, it's his mode of communication. He's very thoughtful in how he expresses himself, and he's not going to fly off the handle. And that's one of the things that he admires about me, that as a woman who's gone through so much abuse, and it has gone through, I've not had a very easy life. And he sees that even though I've had those circumstances, that I'm not some bitter fucking bitch that hates men, that's going to blame men, that poo-poos love and relationships. And, he sees that, my heart is open and intact. And I can still come from a very loving, trusting place.
That's awesome. And that's such, I've seen the polar opposite of that myself. And it's really scary thing to deal with. And going back to your original story from before about being in the Costco with that guy, I could see, I could envision the look that he must have had. I've been that guy myself when I was in a relationship, and he really does believe, part of him does believe that he is as bad as she is projecting it to be. And he's like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm incompetent. My wife doesn't love me, and that's when you get into the suicidal stuff. Like, I mean, my ex-girlfriend would just, because we would smoke weed, and then she'd be like, now let's do a million errands. And when I smoke, I want it to be at the end of the day when I don't have.
I want to chill. I don't want to do shit.
Yeah, but so we would go to the laundromat, and then I would be like stoned and fooling around and like not really folding things, whatever it was. And she would just like blow up on me in front of people at the laundromat and be like, why did you make me do that? Why did you make me yell at you in front of all those people?
Wow.
And instead of being in my power, this was like 6 years ago. So I was just like, yeah, I guess I am kind of a piece of shit. And now I would fuck you. Like, give me a fucking break. I just we did laundry. Like, what do you expect from me? I'm not at my best here. I'm gonna go home and just relax. So it's like I feel like I've grown a lot since, like, because for me, and I don't know what it's like for women, because I'm not in a woman's body, obviously, but for men, it's like I sometimes wonder if it's like, do women even realize how much power they have over us?
No, a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. And at that Costco, that incident, it took all my energy to not fucking get in that bitch's face, man. I really wanted to go at her. I really, really did. And it was like, girl, step away from the vehicle, move along. Because I really wanted to defend him. And it's like, no, just observe, check yourself out, reel it in, rein it in, girl. Why does this piss you off? And the reason why it pissed me off is that was my mother. That's my mother. The shit. And my mom was a man-hating, insufferable psycho. So she would go off on men and go off on her husband. And it was disturbing. Like that. I mean, it was just like, I can't even go there. I mean, it would just freak me the fuck out, because this man was just such a nice, generous, gentle soul. And she just was like not having any of it, because she could get away with it. She had no respect for him.
What do you think about the idea that, like, because I've seen that happen with men, but I've also seen it happen in the reverse, where there's a really sweet, kind, loving girl, and she's with some piece of shit, and it's like, so I've heard the theory proposed by other spiritual healers and stuff that, like, well, sometimes it's like people that are empathic attract narcissistic people, because it's like the need to like heal them is almost like comes naturally to them. But that doesn't mean that you should be stuck with a narcissist forever.
Absolutely. That you shouldn't do it. And you shouldn't be in a relationship to heal somebody. Your partner's not a fucking project.
Yeah.
They're not your fucking client. They're not your patient. And when we get in that dynamic, and I've done it. I have fucking done it, where I've gotten together with inappropriate people, because I want to see the best in them, and I want to uplift them. I want to be the different. It's like, oh, stop it.
Yeah.
It's not going to end well. You don't want to be in a relationship with a project, whether you're a man or woman, because you are going to resent the fuck out of that person, because they are never going to live up to it. They will resent you.
They will. And then they'll turn around.
And they will blame you.
Yeah, they'll
you'll
turn
be
around.
exhausted.
Absolutely. And they'll turn it around on you and act like you're the one that needs their healing and wisdom, which they don't even really have any. They just have like, they have societal norms that they can like push onto you. It's like, just to let you know, all this conspiracy stuff isn't normal, man. Like, all this punk music. And, I was, I met with this guy the other night, was hitting on me at this club or whatever. And then he sees that I had like a spike bracelet. And he's just like, ooh, what's that? And I'm just like, it's just a spike bracelet, dude. I'm in a band, man. I just played a show. Like, hello? He's like, oh, well. And he came from like Europe. He's like, well, where I come from, we don't have anything like that. I was like, you don't? Here's a punk festival in Europe. It's probably one of the biggest things in the whole, And so it's like, again, it's like people will just like judge you based on how well adjusted you are to the psychopathic society that they have no idea is actually a psychopathic entity.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks for your time as always. This was like an awesome, it's awe-inspiring. Like,
yeah, it's fun. It's
well.
really fun. I really I love our communication, and I love the questions that you ask, and I also love that you actually apply things, and also have the direct experiences for yourself, because you can't take my word for it. My experience is like, it's mine, and I share it because I think that, and especially those of us who are like wanting to examine the truth, the relative and the objective truth. And when it comes to relationships, that's fucking hard, man. It's hard to look at ourselves and just based on our relating program. I mean, we're fucked from the very moment we are conceived, because there are all these preconceived in the matrix programs that get downloaded through our DNA into our bodies by the time we're born, by the time we've taken our first breath. Geez Louise. I mean, it just goes on. So to be able to like stand back and extricate yourself and then ask the really tricky, fucked up, critical questions about reality, about relationships, about what it is that you want, because the vast majority of people who are in the matrix, I don't know, I mean, it's like, it's just what we do. It's like, oh God.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. One last and final question here is, what does Marja West think the world would look like if the aggregate of human beings were conscious of the integration of masculine and feminine and like somewhat understanding of the different levels of like relationships?
I think it would be the heart-based new humanity, the new earth realized, where everyone gets to create their own layer of their universe and absolutely materialize and manifest those details. I believe in it, I really do. I believe in it. And in many ways, I'm co-creating that with this person. Like, my layer of reality is pretty damn great. Really damn great. I mean, world shit shows aside, but my layer of reality is very intentional.
And and the global elites and stuff, they don't want that, because then you're emanating that into the field and they can't have that. So sometimes they say the best revenge is living well.
Absolutely, without pushing up against them, because when you don't push, when you intend what it is that you want to create, intend, it is given. And I have all these reality creation videos, and I really want to send people there, because you're a master grand creator. The powers that want to be want you stuck in the matrix, looking at their shit, They don't want you to know and realize who and what you are. They don't want you to wake up to the truth that you don't have to be special to wield the laws of the universe and materialize what it is that you intend. And that includes the relationship that you want. But you're not going to get it if you don't know what you want, what that looks like, how it feels, how you feel in it, or if you can't see yourself in this amazing relationship. And then I always have to say, bearing in mind, you can't intend a specific person because you can't create in another person's reality. So just be clear about the attributes, the qualities of this person. Go general.
Now, can you say like if you know somebody who has a couple good qualities, it's just like you could say, oh, sort of like that person, but not like.
Of course.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I had one other point to make, but I kind of forgot. It happens. But so yeah, that was really that was awesome. And definitely check out all of Marja's playlists on reality creation. And you go through her YouTube channel and you'll be able to differentiate it by different topics.
Yeah, go at the playlist tab and it's got all the different playlists and it's fun.
Because people could get overwhelmed. And what's great about her stuff too is that because me, I'm a long form guy. Like I hate Instagram because you can only post short videos, but her short videos pack a lot of information and it helps beginners maybe understand, like people that don't have a lot of time or anything or can't sit through a 2-hour thing. She's able to condense things down in a nice way where you're still giving them the information. It's just you're able to break it into chunks so that it's easier for people to take in.
Yeah, exactly. It's easier for me to take in.
Yeah.
Because I could go all day, and it's and I talk a lot, so it's geez Louise.
Yeah. Also wanted to mention you have a brand new website.
lovetruthandbeauty.com, and I invite people to opt in. I have a video training there when you opt in that talks about what the fuck waking up is, because a lot of people don't know what the fuck that is. And I actually tell it to you straight without any new age bullshit.
Or SJW politicized version of being woke too.
Yeah, none of that shit. The left, right, center paradigm does not exist in my opinion. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also Blue Collar Mystic. She's one of the panel on that, and that's a fucking phenomenal show. I love it.
It's hilarious. It's really, really, really fun. In fact, just over the last 24 hours or so, James of the live stream, Blue Collar Mystics, came and visited me and my guy. And so we hosted him, and it's so much fun. The house and we and Gigi, the Italian Greyhound, we got gonged. It was fab.
That's freaking awesome.
So we experienced that whole, oh my God, it was just phenomenal. Really, really just such a great time.
Yeah, don't be afraid to have a good time, people, don't overdo it, but it's okay to have fun every once in a while too.
Absolutely. Invoke the pleasure principle, because that's part of it. The balance of the masculine and feminine. We are balancing our doing, the masculine, with being the feminine. And we're also applying the pleasure principle to balance the suffering that we do as human beings.
Yeah.
So that's your homework, kids. Enjoy yourselves. No guilt.
And before that come up on the show, the next week's Adam Finnegan. He's going to be talking about biowarfare. We're going to do this whole 7 million and shit show. That's
what was that? Say that again. I'm sorry. You kept cutting in and out. What happened?
No, I would say Adam Finnegan and I are discussing. I was letting the audience know me and him are going to be having a show where we discuss warfare and the COVID and all
Awesome. Well, I adore the both of you.
that. Thank you. And we have also Jojo Seebacher coming on, talking about astrology and just like what she's up to. And then
Beautiful. She's an awesome,
De-Occulted,
awesome lady.
Yep, I know you guys are tight as well. And so then after that, I'm going to have Darwinism Debunked Part 2, where I go into social Darwinism and all the kind of things that go along with that. And like, and just how that false science played a role in people's bullshit ideology and how, yeah, that's, I don't want to say too much about that, but that's what I got coming up. I know that I've kind of been on hiatus, focusing a lot on music, like Lex Naturalis, my one-man band. I've been playing every weekend, getting up there with my Lex Rex t-shirt.
I love it.
What on earth is happening.com. You know, I'm telling people my songs are called Care. Clarity is about, you know, waking yourself up, seeing yourself, owning your attention. And I'm you know, at open mics in my local town every week, just being like, Lex Naturalis, it means natural law. You know, just I'm hammering away, and people love it. They're not like, I don't get anybody really. You know, people are really like just sopping it up, and they're just enjoying it. You know, just the fan. You know, just like because I incorporate just being like a rocker into it. Like I just bring it all together, and it's a blast. It's like you know, I've had bands and stuff before who it's just like they try to suppress what I can do and like don't sing about this, don't talk about this, don't wear this, and I'm just like now it's
God,
like
I know all the fucking rules. Jeez Louise, no rules. And what you're doing is you're actually downloading people and they're receiving it.
Yeah.
So it's an actual dissemination of the work, of the great work. And so love it. Good for you.
Right on. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks Marja for coming on.
Thank you.
You know, love you, and she's gonna be a regular. You're gonna see her a lot in the next couple of years, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, love.
Thank you.
I waited for you so long, and now you're here. Is it really true? Is it really you?